avoiding overly positive, instead of writing, write this. It is also important to, instead of writing, write this. Avoiding judgmental, appropriate description. Paul reports that he gained 3 pounds over the last month. He also reports that he continues to exercise. Judgmental. Paul is obviously not exercising as he claims. Avoiding informal language. Jargon. Jargon, slang. Slang, euphemism, acronyms. It's okay to use informal language if you are using a direct quote from a person you support, and they used avoiding short. Reviewing for the 5 C's. Think of the 5 C's as a checklist to clear, effective documentation, complete, effective documentation, concise. Effective documentation is correct, effective documentation, consistent. Make sure your documentation, how to handle mistakes. Mistakes happen. How you handle them. Test who, DSP, and Mary Jane. When, February, the DSP provide. This example is Lenny Crisp, although this is a detailed review. True or false? If you make a mistake when documenting something, do not use summary. Section 4, conclusion. Course summary.
Alright. So that's that. Alright. Are you there?
I'm here. What else can I help you with?
So, let's do some questions.
Sounds great. Fire away.
So, what is the best way to document if you suspect a person you support is not feeling well? Brooks was acting strange, and she was mean to her housemate. She normally doesn't act like this, so she must not be feeling well. Or I could tell Brooke wasn't feeling well because she seemed extra tired. Or Brooke was laying down on the couch with her hands on her forehead. When I went over to check on her, she groaned and said, "Go away, my head hurts." Or Brooke was laying down on the couch, sick as a dog.
The best way to document this would be, Brooke was laying down on the couch with her hands on her forehead when I went over to check on her.
Which of the following should always be included in your documentation? Implicit bias, subjective opinions of the reporter, the key elements of the effective documentation, or overly positive language.
Except I can remember it.
The key elements of effective documentation should always be included.
What is the best way to handle a mistake during documentation? Use whiteout, cross out the mistake, and put your initials above the correct information. After the record, after it has been finished, submitted to remove the mistake. Alter the record, that is, after it has been submitted to remove the mistake, or scribble over the mistake.
The best way to handle a mistake is to cross it out with a single line, write the correct information next to it, and then add your initials.
When documenting something, what should exclude? Known facts about a situation or communication, direct quotes, your opinion about a situation or communication, or specific details. So which one, when documenting something, what should exclude?
Your opinion about a situation or communication should be excluded when documenting.
What is the following is not one of the SCs or 5 Cs? Consider it concise, clear, complete.
Consider it isn't one of the 5 C's. The 5 C's are clear, concise, complete, correct, and consistent.
Sounds good.
Great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Do you want to try another round of questions?
Just be patient. We got more information to listen to.
Of course. I'm here whenever you're ready.
I think we've done 3, and now we have 14 more to go.
Great. I'm ready for the next one.
Come to me with questions. I know our history almost as well as Vignar by now. Except I can remember it.
Informed decision-making.
Okay, I'm ready for your questions about informed decision-making.
No, just listen.
About this course. People everywhere want to make their own choices in life. Providing person-centered services includes supporting people to make their own decisions, even if others do not agree with the decision. In this course, you will learn what informed decision-making is and why it matters to the people you support. You will learn how people can be fully informed but still reach different decisions from the same facts. You will also learn what you can do to help people make informed decisions. The goal of this course is to introduce DSPs and IDD service settings to concepts related to informed decision-making. Learning objectives. After taking this course, you should be able to explain the concept and importance of informed decision-making. Describe strategies DSPs can use to support informed decision-making for people with IDD. Section 2. What is informed decision-making? Meet Denise. You have been a DSP supporting Denise for several months now. When you arrive at her apartment today, Denise is almost jumping for joy. Did you see the news? Leo is coming to town. He's hosting a charity dinner. Leo is Denise's favorite singer. She owns all his albums and has a few t-shirts with his face on the front. She even has Leo print leggings. Whenever she meets someone new, she makes sure to tell them she is Leo's biggest fan. That's great, you reply. Maybe we can catch a glimpse of him while he's in town. Denise squeals. No, I'm going to meet him, she tells you forcefully. She shows you a flyer advertising a charity dinner. See, she says, the dinner costs $500. I have that in my bank account. I can actually have dinner with him. Denise starts bouncing in excitement. You are surprised and a bit concerned. $500 is a lot of money to Denise. She barely earns minimum wage, and she shares her apartment with a roommate just to make ends meet every month. Even if she does have the money, spending that much on one evening sounds extreme. Are you sure that's a good idea? You ask. I think these kinds of dinners are meant for people who have more money than you do. Denise says, it doesn't matter. It'll be worth it. How do you respond to Denise? Okay, let's talk about the cost and see if this will fit into your budget. Of course it matters. I know this sounds like fun, but you don't have enough money for something like this. Denise keeps bouncing. What? This is not... The importance of choice. People with disabilities want to make choices about the same things anybody else does. It can be easy to support choice when the stakes are dignity of risk. Sometimes the people you support will make choices you think are risky. You may think you should step in to protect them and prevent a mistake. Sometimes you will need to. If a person's choices would put them in immediate danger, you have a duty to intervene. However, sometimes you should not intervene. Risks are not all bad. In fact, it is possible to live and try new things without accepting some risk. Dignity of risk is a concept that links growth and self-esteem with risk. People often accept risk to pursue something they value. Stopping a person from taking risks means not letting them truly live their life. It robs the person of control, enjoyment, meaning, and purpose in their life. To the person, it can feel like being in a prison. Allowing the making informed decisions. Information. The person must have relevant information. Capacity. The person can understand the choice and its consequence. Consent. The person accept. People are entitled. Remember Denise? Think back to Denise, who wants to spend a large amount of money to meet her idol. Should you intervene, or should you help her plan the activity? Denise, what is capacity? Capacity is complex. It involves understanding the situation and possible choices, understanding the risks involved, being able to communicate a decision. Capacity may change over time based on the person's experience, age, or health status. A person might have capacity for some types of decisions, but not others.
I've been tending to the warriors of your Vasker for as long as I can remember. I've been tending to the warriors of your Basker for as long as I can remember.
For example, someone might have capacity to decide to take aspirin for a headache. That same person might need more support when deciding to have major surgery. One common way to think about capacity is legal capacity. Legal capacity means the law recognizes the person as being capable of giving consent. Generally, adults have legal capacity to make decisions unless they have a guardian who is responsible for doing so. It can be difficult to judge someone's capacity for a particular decision. Sometimes this may require professional assessment.
Psychotic monkey business.
If you believe that the person used priorities and values, do not assume that for example, Denise wants to meet her favorite review. It is not your role to make an informed decision. Denise needs to have the capacity to fully evaluate her options and understand the risks. If you do not think she has that capacity, you should talk to to make an informed decision. Denise needs to have enough helping someone become informed. You must always brainstorm solutions, gather facts, and ask questions. Identify priorities, assess outcomes, and you may have noticed that these steps meet. Wow, an apartment would be a big move. Alton is practically Alton says, making a list, finding Alton's roommate. You're caught off guard. Alton asks you. Alton is now Alton is really mad at you. Alton asks you. Alton is annoyed with you. Alton says, Alton is. Alton asks you. Alton says, Alton is thrilled to have you. Alton asks you. Alton is annoyed with you. Now Alton asks you. Alton is annoyed. Alton says, Alton avoiding influence. With Alton, to avoid supporting, for example, remember, in manage, Alton, review. Remember, Lena, this puts the focus on, this is a neutral, helpful way. Emphasize, this is a neutral, Tara's opinion about this. Summary. A key part of supporting informed decision. Section Course Summary.
I'm here. What would you like to discuss about informed decision making?
The following actions are not part of supporting someone's decision. Leaving them to face the consequences on their own, teaching them the skills they need to face risks, helping them manage the risks they face, or encouraging other team members to respect the person's choice.
Leaving them to face the consequences on their own is not a part of supporting someone's decision. It's important to help them understand and manage the risks involved, and to ensure their choices are respected by everyone on the team.
True or false, part of your support role is advocating for other team members to respect the person's right to make an informed decision.
That's true. It's definitely part of your role to advocate for the person you're supporting and ensure their
what
right.
term means that the person can understand the situation, choices, and risks involved, consent, capacity, priority, support?
That would be capacity. It's all about understanding the situation, the choices
Which of the
available.
following situations would justify you to in resisting a decision from someone to support? If a person does not have all the information they need, if you believe a person has the capacity to make a decision, if the decision conflicts with your personal values and priorities, the person chooses, or the person closest friends think it's a bad idea.
If the person doesn't have all the information they need, that would be a situation where you might step in. It's about making sure they have what they need to make a truly informed choice.
True or false, before the person makes a big decision, their entire team needs to agree with it.
That's definitely false. The whole point of informed decision making is that it's the person's choice, even if others disagree.
Are you prepared for tonight's hunt?
I've been thinking we need to be more discreet.
There's nothing wrong with what we're doing.
You know the old man doesn't like it. Let's just not be too obvious.
I've been tending to the warriors of your Basker for as long as I can remember.
Four down. 15 to go.
Community transportation.
When the Empire
About this
surrendered
horse.
to the unmarried Dominion,
Transportation.
they shamed us all.
The value of transportation for people with IDD. Transportation is important for them. Types of transportation. Buses. Walking. Ride sharing. Bicycles or train or Medicaid transport. Private vehicle. Taxi. American paratransit services. Door-to-curb service. When using paratransit, a person with IDD does not have to pay more than double. Review. Why is it a person, while a new car may be a way to access truth, it also summary. Section 3, Safety and Challenges. Local challenges. Some transport, rural, suburban, urban, Technology. Paratransit provider. Mobility. If the person can. Vehicle modification. If you support a person, lifts. Raised. Wheelchair. Adapted control. Ramps. Other barriers. A person with IDD has the same rights as others. This includes the right to get a driver. The cost of owning and maintaining a vehicle can also be review. Which of the often they
I've
have
heard you may
true
actually be
or
stronger
false.
than you look.
A person with
Perhaps we can hunt together
Summary.
someday.
Section 4. Conclusion. For some.
Alright, are you there?
I'm here. What would you like to discuss about informed decision making?
We're past that. What type of transportation is required by the ADA as an alternative to fixed route public transportation? Ride sharing, paratransit, medical transportation, or taxi?
The answer is paratransit. It's a special transportation service that's required by the ADA to help people with disabilities who can't use regular public transportation.
Which of the following is the best example of why community transportation is important to a person with IDD? Information, privacy, inclusion, or technology?
The best answer here is inclusion. Community transportation helps people with IDD participate more fully in community life.
What does the Americans with Disability Act do? Promotes discrimination, prohibits discrimination, limits the rights of people, prohibits a person with disabilities from getting a driver's license.
The ADA prohibits discrimination against people with
Alright, which of the
disabilities.
following is
It's
true about Medicaid transportation? It is available to everyone. It doesn't require scheduling in advance. People with IDD can't use it. It may be limited.
How do you manage to hold your ground like that?
You have to remember, it's not
Medicaid
about
transportation
strength.
is usually
It's about
limited to
leverage.
medical appointments.
But
It's
strength
designed to
doesn't
ensure
hurt.
people can get to
Well,
essential
no.
healthcare
I'm
services.
just saying there's more to defense than muscle.
Are you saying the others aren't true?
That's right. Medicaid
Alright,
transportation has
many people with IDD can learn to use community transportation on their own. True or false?
That's absolutely true. With the right training and support, many people with IDD can become confident and independent users of community transportation.
I think I misread that one. Okay.
No worries. We can move on to the next question whenever you're ready.
I'd be dead if not for Vignar. He took me in and helped me turn my life around.
Health promotion and age-related changes in IDD.
Come to me with questions. I know our history almost
About
as
this
well as
course,
Vignar by
people
now.
with intellectual and developmental
Except I can
disabilities,
remember it.
or IDD, live longer lives than they used to. As a direct support professional, or DSP, you must understand how aging affects the people you support. There is no way to predict exactly how a person's body will respond to aging. Age-related changes depend on a combination of a person's genes, lifestyle, and environment. However, some changes are a typical part of aging for many people. In this course, you will learn about these typical changes and how they affect an older adult's support needs. The goal of this course is to introduce DSPs and IDD service settings to age-related changes and health supports.
He wouldn't let me stay.
This course provides an overview of age-related changes. It is not medical advice. Always consult a person's physician for information about their individual risks and needs. Learning objectives. After taking this course, you should be able to describe the physical effects of aging on people with IDD. Describe strategies to support overall health for older adults with IDD. Section 2. Age-related changes. Introduction. Everyone's body changes with age. Some of these changes are obvious, others are less obvious, but still affect daily life for older adults. It is not possible to predict when a person will experience a certain change, if at all. This is especially true for people with IDD, who may have other conditions that affect the aging process. Some people with IDD experience age-related changes younger and faster than the general population. For example, a person with Down syndrome may have some of the needs of an older adult by their 40s. At any age, some people will experience certain changes more than others. People with IDD face other complications in aging. Pre-existing conditions, medication side effects, and difficulty reporting symptoms can increase the effects of age-related changes. It is important for you to understand how aging might affect the people you support so you can help them maintain a high quality of life. Aging affects the entire body. Select a body system to learn how age affects it. Reproductive changes. Women experience a hormonal Urinary changes. The urinary system includes the kidneys.
It's amazing how
what you can do. Digestive system. Circulation and breathing changes. Like other muscles involved with breathing also weaken. What you can do. Physical activity that's nervous system changes. Nervous system changes can also affect a person's senses, thinking, and bone, muscle, and what you can do. Bones, muscles, and joints. Sensory change. Visual. Hair, skin, and nail change. Thinner skin. Review. Which of the following digestive changes are typical for older adults? Choose all that apply. Which of the following changes in senses are typical for older adults? Choose all that apply. Which of the following changes in bones, muscles, and joints are typical for older adults? Choose all that apply. Summary. Exercise. Older adults should have between 100 prevent falls. While Fred is walking, he stumbles. Fortunately, he has his cane in one hand and Maria at his other side. Maria helps Fred catch his balance, and then they pause for a break. One of the most important health issues for falls risk is related to normal physical and mental changes due to age. A person may lose balance more easily, or lack the strength to move easily between sitting and standing. Poor depth perception may make it difficult to judge the height of a step. A person who is also confused or disoriented from dementia is at an even higher risk of falling. Report any risk factors you observe, such as changes in gait or changes in vision. Falls and near falls are also risk factors. People who have already fallen are at a higher risk of falling again. And healthy, some older, sleep, then sleep. Oh, Review. Which of the following types of exercise are generally recommended for older adults? Aerobic, select all that apply. Flexibility training include balance, strength, 150 to 300 minutes a week of summary. Now that you have finished viewing the course content, you should have learned the following. The physical effects of aging on people with IDD. Congratulations, you have finished viewing the course content.
That's good armor you got there, friend. Iron, solid and true.
It's a shame, isn't it?
Hey, are you there?
I'm here. What would you like to discuss about community transportation?
We're past that. True or false, physical changes happen at a predictive age for most people.
That's false. Physical changes during puberty happen at different times for everyone. There's a wide range of what's considered normal. Just a reminder that I don't provide medical advice.
Which of the following is a typical nervous system change for older adults? Short-term memory, long-term memory loss, Alzheimer's disease, non-Alzheimer's, dementia.
I'm the commander of the guard.
Short-term memory loss is a typical nervous system change in older adults.
Which of the following is a common urinary change for older adults? Lower volume in urine, need to urinate less, rigid bladder muscles, higher risk of urinary infections.
Older adults often experience more rigid bladder muscles, which can lead to a more frequent need to urinate.
Which of the following statements about an older adult's ability to learn is true? Older adults learn at the same rate as before. Older adults learn at the slower rate. Older adults learn at a faster rate. Older adults are not likely to learn at all.
Older adults can still learn, but they might learn at a slower pace than they did when they were younger.
Well, what does aspiration mean in the context of safe eating? Food or drink enters the lungs. Solid food gets stuck in the throat. Liquid enters the nasal cavity. Food is trapped in the cheek pocket.
Aspiration is when food or liquid enters the lung. It can be a serious issue, so it's important to be aware of the signs.
Which of the following is a typical age-related change in the person's sleeping patterns? Reduced need for sleep, increased need for sleep, waking up earlier, waking up later.
A typical change is waking up earlier. Older adults often find their sleep patterns shift, leading to earlier bedtimes and wake-up times.
I'm getting pushed around all the time.
So earlier wake-up times, you said?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, an older adult is losing weight but only eats half of each meal. Which of the following responses would most likely help to maintain a healthy weight? Offer less food more often, offer sweets with every meal, suggest they reduce their exercise, suggest they reduce their sleep.
Offering food more often, but in smaller portions, would be the best approach. This helps ensure they get the nutrients they need without feeling overwhelmed by large meals.
Which of the following conditions is one of the most common causes for death for people with IDD?
Heart disease is the leading cause of death for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
These options: respiratory infection, urinary tract infection, injury in a fall, or choking.
Respiratory infections are a common cause of death for people with IDD.
Human development across the lifespan. About this course provides an overview of human development, a learning object. Section 2, Human Development. Humans learn and master child development. Child development often plays the leading role in discussions about human development. Physical and intellectual growth is dramatic during the first 5 years of life. These formative years can have a lifelong influence on learning and adapting. For a child with IDD, supports and strategies during these early years can make a big difference in their later success. Stages of development. Human development experts often divide life into stages. This helps when looking at common ways that people continue to develop after childhood and throughout adulthood. Psychologist Erik Erikson identified 8 distinct stages of life. And meet Anastasia. Anastasia was born generations. Pay attention to the person-centered plan. As a DSP, you should always pay attention to the person-centered plan for the person with IDD that you support. It is important to follow the goal plan that is written specifically for the person with IDD. It may contain critical information about the person's history and strategies that are most effective in supporting them. Review. Human development experts often divide life into stages. This helps when looking at common ways that people can maturity, adolescent, infancy, grades, although high school can summary. This section introduced the concept of human development. Although the focus in human development is often on infancy and childhood development, changes can set milestones. Milestones are things that most children do by a certain age. They are a common way to track whether a child is developing typically. Here are some common milestones in infancy at 2 months old, at 4, at 6 months, at 12, at 2 years, at 3 years old. Language development. At 3 years old, most toddlers can follow 2 to 3 step directions. Name a friend, and have at 2, at 12, at 2 years, at 12 months old, at 6 months, at 4 months old, at 2 months old. Most, as you can see, milestones are often small steps toward bigger goals. Potential challenge. Some children born with IDD, early intervention. Early intervention, stage 2, toddler years. Supporting independent. Stage 3, preschool years. Play and communication promote development during the preschool years. Children with potential challenges. Children with IDD may have social and communication delays. These can make it difficult for them to engage with other kids their age. The good news is that preschoolers are wonderfully accepting of such differences. Exposing the child with IDD to typically developing peers provides models for engagement and can help stimulate social development.
We got ways of finding out what you really are.
Do you hate the Dark Elves? Are you here to bully us and tell us to leave?
Knowledge. What stage of life does this story illustrate? Infancy is the stage. Stage 4, grade school years. The first day of school is one of the most memorable events in a young child's life. At the state, right, sexual development and IDD. Most adolescents with disabilities experience the physical changes of puberty at the same time as their same-age peers. In fact, this is the area where people are most likely to be developing at a typical rate. Without support and education, many adolescents and adults with IDD go through life very confused and guilt-ridden about their sexuality. Barney falls once he review. Which of the following are examples of what occurs during at this stage, attending a prom, learning to, at this stage, best friend relate, summary. This section ends at
Most of the Nords living in Windhelm don't care much for us.
in stage Anastasia's independence. At 30 years old, Anastasia could bathe, feed, and dress herself, but needed help with the fine details of all those activities. Potential challenges. Perhaps the biggest and unexpected. Layla, start. Flexibility. Death. Barney's. The staff member. End of life. A good death. Creating an end. What about it? Review. Adults with IDD are adults. They should be. This is not an example. You should encourage. This is not an example of age of summary. Section 5, conclusion. Course summary. As we see from Congratulations, you have completed reviewing the materials for this course.
Some of these Nords will come up with any excuse to despise us. And it isn't just the Dark Elves they hate. They make a target of the Argonians as well. In fact, just about anyone who isn't a Nord is fair game for their bullying.
Are you there?
I'm here. What would you like to discuss about aging and health?
Which is the best example of a life stage? Middle adulthood, learning to drive, high school, prom, and end-of-life plan.
Middle adulthood is the best example of a life stage. It's a broad period of life, while the other options are specific events or plans.
True or false? Milestones are often small steps toward bigger goals.
That's true. Milestones are like checkpoints that show you're making
Which of the following is considered one of the 8 stages of development according to Erik Erikson? Dementia, juvenile, or preschool, socialization.
Out of those options, preschool is the stage that aligns with Erik Erikson's stages of psychosocial
which of the following is the best example of how you can support a person with IDD to have a full independent life? Give them a ride to the grocery store, do everything for them, encourage creative and supportive goals, move them into a group home or institution.
Encouraging creative and supportive goals is a great way to help someone with IDD.
Why are milestones important when looking at human development? They are a common way to measure how far a person can walk. They are a way to track whether a child is developing. Typically, they tell you when most toddlers can walk up the stairs. They indicate when a baby can hold up their head.
Milestones are important because they help us track whether a child is developing typically. They give us a general idea of when certain skills usually emerge.
True or false? Play and communication promote development during the preschool years.
That's Absolutely true.
Which of the following is the
Play
best
and
example of support available for young children who are at the risk of having IDD? Childhood centers, early intervention, stage of analysis, of life analysis, play dates with friends.
Early intervention programs are specifically designed to help young children who are at risk for IDD.
True or false? Some children born without disabilities can acquire them because of early experiences like extreme poverty or abuse. True or false?
That's true. Early experiences like extreme poverty or abuse can sometimes lead to developmental disabilities in children.
Lesson 1. Forms Forms of abuse. Physical abuse. Physical abuse is non-accidental, inappropriate sexual abuse. Mental, sometimes neglect. Financial examples of domestic disability specific review. Select the options that are examples of abuse. A DSP does not cut up a client's food as prescribed in their support plan, and the person chokes. A DSP says to an individual, "Do that again, and you'll be stopped." Making a threat is using fear to control a person's behavior. Although this is not ideal, making personal use of this is neglect, which is a form of abuse. The DSP did not follow specific instructions that are necessary for the person's safety. Lesson summary. Lesson 2. Recognize as you interact with the people who have experienced abuse and trauma. Based on this information, is abuse a potential concern? Sometimes a person's behavior may provide clues that a person Lesson Lesson 3. Power dynamic. Behavior and communication. Boundary. Sometimes daily social isolation. Dependence on What review. Which example represents the highest risk of abuse? Actually, if a person doesn't get proper sex ed, actually, working overtime due to staff. Lesson summary. In this lesson, you learned Lesson 3, Risk Factors of Abuse. Lesson 4, Prevent. Introduction. You may be wondering what you can do. Ways to prevent abuse. There are many ways to help prevent abuse, such as watch, advocate, teach, care, listen. Of people with IDD who are reducing risk factors. Instead, teach us, manage your work and review. How should you approach working with your client? Ask your supervisor for guidance. Adults with IDD are not children, not allowance, support and problem. This is not helpful. Your job is to support people even when they do things you do not like. For guidance and help with problem solving. Lesson 5, Responding to and Reporting Abuse. Introduction. It is critical that DSPs know how to respond. The trauma-informed approach to responding to abuse requires you to display continuous attention, peer support, collaboration, empowerment, cultural honesty, and safety. You and your reporting signs of abuse. Many times, you will not know for sure that abuse has occurred. Making a report. The investigation. Review. Jenny explains that Keisha what should you do? Talk to other staff members to get more information. Call the police. Talk to your designated investigator. Tell Jenny that what she is doing is wrong. Telling Jenny that you do not know if a crime has been. It is not your talking to the designated investigator.
Alrighty, are you there?
I'm here. What would you like to discuss about developmental disabilities?
We're past that, let's move on. If you see someone being abused, what should you do first? Report the abuse, supervisor intervene to stop the abuse, document the abuse, check the person for injury.
Your first step should be to report the abuse to your supervisor. They'll know the proper procedures to follow.
Alright, check up. As a mandatory reporter, you are only required to report abuse if they observed or witnessed it.
That's not quite right.
Alright,
As a mandatory
true or false, a person who can communicate easily is generally at a higher level of risk for abuse compared with a person who has very limited communication skills. True or false?
That's true. People who have a hard time communicating can be at higher risk because they might struggle to tell someone if they're being mistreated.
You mean it's false because I said a person who can communicate easily is generally at higher risk.
My apologies. I misread your statement.
What should you do if you see a coworker becoming frustrated or angry with a client? Stay out of it and focus on the individual. Step in and offer to help, or find someone who can. Immediately separate them from the rest of the for the rest of the day. Tell them to calm down and stop being upset.
Stepping in and offering to help is the best approach. It de-escalates the situation
All right,
and shows support.
Someone is helping somebody else, a woman with a moderate intellectual disability, cook breakfast in the morning, and they attempt to touch the hot stove, and they yell, "Don't touch that." Is that considered abuse?
No, that's not considered abuse. It's a safety precaution. Yelling, "Don't touch that."
All right. Muhammad had Down syndrome and lived in the group home. Theo, as a DSP, asked Muhammad to loan him money for lunch. Theo tells Muhammad that he will pay the money back after his next paycheck. What form of abuse could this be?
That could be financial abuse.
All right.
Theo
Which example would be considered a physical sign of abuse? Spending too much money, appearing fearful, suspicious, poor eye contact, fingerprints on or handprints on the neck, face, arms, or wrists.
Fingerprints or handprints on the neck, face, arms, or wrists.
Non-accidental, inappropriate contact or the use of force with an individual that causes injury or physical pain is considered which form of abuse?
That's physical abuse. It's when someone uses force to cause harm or pain.
A coworker tells you that when he takes a client to the store, he uses the client's money to buy them both sodas. How is that described in your coworker's actions? How would you describe your coworker's actions?
That's financial abuse. It's not okay to use someone else's money without their permission, even for something that seems small.
You sure that's not neglect?
Neglect is when someone fails to provide necessary care or support. In this case, the coworker is actively misusing the client's money, so it falls under financial abuse rather than neglect.
What about compromise?
Compromise is when two or more sides agree to give up something in order to reach an agreement. It's a way to find a solution that works for everyone.
What term describes a pattern of behavior that isolates a person from their family or friends?
That's social isolation. It's when someone is kept away from their support network, and it can be a sign of abuse or neglect.
Isn't that emotional abuse?
Yes, that's right. Social isolation is a form of emotional abuse. It's used to control and manipulate the person by cutting them off from their support system.
Preventing falls. About this course, people with intellectual and developmental disability. Learning. Section 2. Brenda turns into the bathroom and reaches for the light switch. It's always a little hard to reach. As Brenda stretches, she takes one more tiny step forward, and bam, she trips over a mat. There isn't usually a mat right there, and for just a second, Brenda wonders if her roommate moved it. When Brenda hits the floor, she stops thinking about anything at all. She lands hard on her right side. It suddenly seems like everything hurts. She tries to get up, but her arm and hip hurt too much. She lies on the floor and waits for help to arrive.
The best way for us to win the Nord's respect is through hard work.